Welcome to Quiz Cues. This is amazing. Are you ready to play Clue-phoria? Today, we're playing the third edition of Do You Remember? We're going back to the 1950s and 60s. Guess the 30 classic TV shows and commercials from a partial image and just 3 clues. If you like these quizzes and want to see more, please subscribe. It encourages me to continuously create new content for your enjoyment. Thank you. Are you ready? Let's go! Do you remember this TV show? Score 4 points for a correct answer now. Score 3 points for a correct answer now. My first season was sponsored by a tobacco company whose products my stars promoted. Score 2 points for a correct answer now. My neighbors were a retired vaudeville couple who owned the brownstone where we lived. Score 1 point for a correct answer now. My star once worked on a conveyor belt and stuffed her mouth with chocolates to keep up. I Love Lucy, premiering in 1951 and running for 6 seasons. It was the first scripted series filmed before a live audience, and the show's partnership with Philip Morris was iconic. But the real magic was the chemistry between Lucy and her vaudeville neighbors, Fred and Ethel, and it also gave us the most famous scene in TV history, the high-speed chocolate assembly line. Do you remember this TV show? My set was famously sparse, with almost no furniture and a kitchen sink in view. My star was a former orchestra leader with a #1 Billboard album in the 1950s. My star famously threatened to send his wife to the moon. The Honeymooners. Debuting in 1955, this working-class comedy ran for only 39 episodes. While Jackie Gleason was a comedy giant, he was also a serious musician, whose 1952 album, Music for Lovers Only, reached #1 on the charts. Despite the meager kitchen set, the show gave us TV's most iconic threat. Bang! Zoom! Straight to the moon, Alice! Do you remember this TV show? My first season did poorly on one network, and a rival network picked me up and saved me. My TV mother was a former fashion model and motion picture actress. I am the boy whose mother famously wore pearls while vacuuming the house. Leave It to Beaver. Premiering in 1957, this classic sitcom was rescued by ABC after CBS dropped it due to poor ratings. While Jerry Mathers played the Beaver, Barbara Billingsley became a legend as June Cleaver, the quintessential housewife, who famously did all her chores while wearing a full dress and a strand of pearls. Do you remember this commercial? I began as a family-run butcher shop in the 1880s and stayed that way for 80 years. I am known for traveling the country in a famous vehicle shaped just like my product. My jingle made children wish they could grow up to be a hot dog. Oscar Mayer Wiener. Founded in 1883 by Bavarian immigrant Oscar F. Mayer, this family-run butcher shop became an American icon while the first Wienermobile hit the road in 1936. It was the 1962 jingle that became a cultural phenomenon, teaching millions of children to sing. Oh, I wish I were an Oscar Mayer Wiener. Do you remember this commercial? My company's founder built a massive grain mill that became a national historic landmark in a Midwestern city. I was born in 1965 after an ad man imagined me popping out of a can. I am the chubby little baker who giggles when you poke my belly. Pillsbury Doughboy. Founded by Charles Alfred Pillsbury in 1869, the Minneapolis Mill became a National Historic Landmark in 1966. Chicago ad man Rudy Pertz created the palm-sized mascot in 1965, and its star was officially named Poppin' Fresh, though Americans came to know him simply as the Pillsbury Doughboy. Do you remember this commercial? My company began as a small cannery and grew to become one of America's largest vegetable packers. My 1960s ads inspired a hit rock song that reached the top 5 on the charts. My booming voice laughed, ho ho ho, from a valley of impossibly tall vegetables. The Jolly Green Giant. Founded as the Minnesota Valley Canning Company in 1903, the small cannery adopted its advertising character's name and became the Green Giant Company in 1950. Its 1960s commercials inspired the Kingsmen's 1965 hit, The Jolly Green Giant, that reached number 4 on the Billboard charts, and bass singer Elmer Dressler Jr. provided the character's booming voice for decades. Do you remember this TV show? My pilot first aired as a guest appearance on another popular sitcom. I am set in a sleepy southern town where life revolves around a barber shop. My deputy carries only one bullet kept safely in his shirt pocket. The Andy Griffith Show. Premiering in October 1960 and running for 8 seasons, it was the rural sitcom set in the fictional North Carolina town of Mayberry that finished its run as the #1 rated show on TV. Its pilot debuted as a 1960 episode of The Danny Thomas Show, and Don Knotts won 5 Emmys as the bumbling Deputy Barney Fife. Do you remember this commercial? My parent company controlled almost every shipping port for tropical fruit in Central America. My mascot was created by a cartoonist who also drew a legendary Sunday comic strip. My mascot wore a fruit hat and taught you how to ripen bananas. Chiquita banana. Introduced in 1944 by the United Fruit Company, the brand became one of the most recognized in American history. Its mascot, Miss Chiquita, was created by cartoonist Dick Brown, who later became famous for the comic strip Hi and Lois. She wore a fruit hat and sang a catchy jingle that taught you to keep bananas at room temperature to ripen them. Do you remember this TV show? My magic was always accompanied by a distinctive musical sound that signaled something impossible was about to happen. My lead actress played 2 roles, including her own mischievous, dark-haired cousin. My star made magic happen simply by wiggling her nose. Bewitched. Premiering in September 1964 and running for 8 seasons, it was the fantasy sitcom whose magical spells were accompanied by a musical chime. Elizabeth Montgomery starred in the dual role of the lead and her cousin Serena, and she could actually wiggle her nose on command without any camera trickery. Do you remember this commercial? I was originally marketed as gentle and mild to women before a masculine 1950s reinvention. My campaign was created by the same Chicago ad agency that invented a giggling little baker. My ads featured a rugged cowboy in denim and chaps against a sweeping western landscape. The Marlboro Man. Introduced in 1954, this campaign transformed a brand with the slogan, "Mild as May," marketed toward women, into a masculine icon. The campaign was created by Chicago's Leo Burnett agency, the same minds behind the Pillsbury Doughboy, creating the rugged cowboy who became one of advertising's most enduring images. Do you remember this TV show? In my early seasons, my main characters were shown smoking cigarettes in national commercials. I was the first animated series ever to air in primetime on a major American network. My lead character shouted a nonsense catchphrase when he was excited. The Flintstones. Premiering in September 1960 and running for 6 seasons, it was the first animated series to air in prime time and was originally sponsored by Winston Cigarettes. Alan Reed's improvised catchphrase, "Yabba Dabba Doo," became the show's most enduring legacy, turning a cartoon about cavemen into a cultural phenomenon. Do you remember this commercial? My brewery was founded by a German immigrant in the 1860s and remained family-run for nearly a century. My 1950s commercials were the first to use an animated character to sell beer. My mascot was the clumsy bear from the land of sky blue waters. The Hamm's Beer Bear. The St. Paul Brewery was founded by German immigrant Theodore Hamm in 1865, before making history in 1952. By introducing Mr. Bear, the first animated beer mascot in TV history, the commercials became so popular that newspapers printed TV broadcast schedules so fans could find and watch them. Do you remember this TV show? I was filmed in black and white, even though color TV was already common. My butler was nearly 7 feet tall and ducked through every doorway on set. My family was creepy, kooky, mysterious, and spooky, and our theme was just finger snaps and a harpsichord. The Addams Family. Premiering in September 1964 and running for 2 seasons, it was based on Charles Addams' dark cartoons. While Ted Cassidy's towering lurch became an icon, he also doubled as the disembodied hand thing. And the show remains legendary for its finger-snapping theme song. Do you remember this commercial? My company was founded by farm implement makers who built washing machines for their neighbors. In 1967, I became the face of a campaign proving my products were built to last. I am the loneliest man in town because nobody ever calls me for help. The Maytag repairman. Founded in 1893 by F.L. and Elmer Maytag in Newton, Iowa, they built their first washing machines for neighboring farmers. The 1967 campaign by Leo Burnett introduced the lonely Maytag repairman to symbolize reliability, played by Jesse White for over 20 years. He became iconic simply because he had absolutely nothing to do. Do you remember this TV show? I was a sitcom about a TV writer living in the suburbs with his family. My creator recast his own failed pilot with a Broadway song and dance man. I am the show where the star famously trips over an ottoman every week. The Dick Van Dyke Show. Premiering in 1961 and running for 5 seasons, it began as a failed pilot called Head of the Family, starring creator Carl Reiner. After recasting Broadway veteran Dick Van Dyke, the show became a hit. The iconic opening sequence, where he trips over or sidesteps the ottoman, became a hallmark of his physical comedy style. Do you remember this commercial? I was created by the same legendary agency that invented the Pillsbury doughboy. My commercials were pulled from TV after protests regarding my portrayal of a culture. I am the cartoon outlaw who famously warned others not to steal my corn chips. The Frito Bandito. Introduced in 1967 by Leo Burnett, this character was voiced by the legendary Mel Blanc. While the catchy jingle and "ay-yi, yay-yi" catchphrase made it popular with many, the mascot was retired in 1971, following protests from advocacy groups. It remains one of the most famous examples of how advertising changed during that era. Do you remember this TV show? My Comedy was created by a writer who had been a staff writer on one of TV's first live comedy variety programs. My star was a former Marine who had been a stand-up comedian before developing a distinctive, clipped speaking style. My bumbling secret agent was famous for saying, "Would you believe?" and missed it by that much. Get Smart! Premiering in 1965 and running for 5 seasons, this spy spoof was the brainchild of Mel Brooks and Buck Henry. Former Marine Don Addams brought his iconic delivery to Agent 86, Maxwell Smart, and the show won 7 Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Comedy Series in 1968 and 1969. Do you remember this commercial? My company began in the 1850s in a small Philadelphia bakery and became America's second largest cookie maker. My 1969 commercials introduced animated characters created by the same agency that created The Loneliest Repairman. My cookies were baked inside a hollow tree by magical little elves. The Keebler elves. Founded by German immigrant Gottfried Keebler in 1853, the brand's legacy changed forever in 1969. That's when the Leo Burnett agency introduced Ernie and his fellow elves. They famously lived and baked inside the hollow tree, a setting that turned a simple cookie brand into one of the most magical icons in American advertising. Do you remember this TV show? My show was produced by a company founded by a legendary 1940s recording artist. Several of my German officers were played by Jewish actors who had personally fled the real-life regime we portrayed. My bumbling German sergeant famously said, "I know nothing." Hogan's Heroes. Premiering in 1965 and running for 6 seasons, this comedy was produced by Bing Crosby Productions and starred former radio DJ Bob Crane. In a remarkable twist of history, the actors playing Klink and Schultz were Jewish refugees who fled the Nazis. Werner Klemperer only took the role on the condition that his character, Colonel Klink, would never once succeed in his schemes. Do you remember this commercial? My company was once a part of John D. Rockefeller's famous Standard Oil Trust. My 1960s commercials featured live tiger cubs that appeared at service stations for publicity. I'm the brand that famously told drivers to put a tiger in their tank. The Esso Tiger. Launched in 1959, the Put a Tiger in Your Tank campaign for Esso, now Exxon, became a global phenomenon. It was so popular during the 1960s that drivers across America bought more than 2.5 million fake tiger tails to hang from their gas caps. The campaign even included live tiger cubs visiting service stations to promote the brand's extra power fuel. Do you remember this TV show? I was produced in black and white because it created the intended atmosphere. My lead actor later became a famous judge in a hit 1992 courtroom comedy film. My family of movie monsters lived at 1313 Mockingbird Lane and drove a custom car built from a coffin. The Munsters. Premiering in 1964 and running for 2 seasons, the spooky monster atmosphere was enhanced by the black and white format. Fred Gwynn, who played Herman, was 6'5" and had to wear 40 pounds of padding and 4-inch asphalt spreader boots. Decades later, he found a whole new generation of fans as the judge in the 1992 film, My Cousin Vinny. Do you remember this commercial? My brand name was borrowed from a Greek hero who fought in the Trojan War. My 1960s commercials featured an animated mascot battling a stubborn ring of bathtub dirt. My mascot was a whirling tornado who promised to be stronger than dirt itself. Ajax White Tornado. Introduced by Colgate-Palmolive, this brand's namesake was the legendary Greek hero Ajax. The White Tornado campaign of the 1960s became a pop culture staple, and its famous "Stronger Than Dirt" slogan was so iconic that the band The Doors even referenced it at the end of their hit song, Touch Me. Do you remember this TV show? My creator also created the hit comedy The Beverly Hillbillies. My lead actor was a real-life war hero and a former circus trapeze artist. My theme song is a duet between a farm-loving husband and his city-loving wife. Green Acres. Premiering in 1965, this was the crown jewel of the Henning-verse, a shared TV world that included the Beverly Hillbillies and Petticoat Junction. Eddie Albert, a decorated World War II hero, played Oliver Douglas opposite Ava Gabor's Lisa. The show became legendary for its surreal humor and its theme song, which featured the couple arguing about their love and hate for farm life. Do you remember this commercial? My parent company was a chemical giant that invented plastic wrap and synthetic rubber. My 1960s commercials used a secret agent because housewives were embarrassed to buy me. My mysterious man in a white suit and sunglasses protected housewives from messy kitchen disasters. The Man from Glad. Introduced by Union Carbide in 1963, Glad trash bags faced a unique hurdle. Early market research showed women felt ashamed to be seen buying them in public. To fix this, the agency created the Man from Glad, a dashing, white-suited secret agent who swooped in to save the day. The campaign was so successful, it turned a chore into a pop culture icon. Do you remember this TV show? I was created by the same producer who made the long-running Western, The Virginian. My title was an acronym for a secret agency based in New York City. My two agents carried a special gun and a communicator pen to open Channel D. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Premiering in September 1964 and running for 4 seasons, it was the spy series created by Norman Felton. The title stood for United Network Command for Law and Enforcement, and the gadgets, especially the P-38 gun and the Open Channel D communicator, became must-have toys for every child in the 1960s. It even inspired a spin-off, The Girl from U.N.C.L.E. Do you remember this commercial? My mascot was chosen because my product formed from prehistoric remains millions of years ago. A massive 55-foot statue of my mascot was erected at the 1964 New York World's Fair. My green Brontosaurus mascot appeared at my gas stations and in my TV commercials. The Sinclair dinosaur. First appearing in 1930, Sinclair Oil's dinosaur mascot was originally intended to represent the age of the petroleum. By the 1964 World's Fair, Dino was so famous he became a massive 55-foot fiberglass attraction that later toured the country on a flatbed truck. Today, he remains one of the most beloved icons of the golden age of American gas stations. Do you remember this TV show? My soldiers were famous for being the most incompetent and accident-prone. My lead actor was a professional dancer who brought his own athletic physical comedy to the role of the clumsy captain. I'm the Western parody featuring a tribe of Indians known as the Hekawi. F Troop. Premiering in 1965 and running for 2 seasons, it was a slapstick masterpiece. The tribe's name, Hekawi, was a joke the writers slipped past the censors. It came from the phrase, "Where the heck are we?" Lead actor Ken Berry was so skilled as a dancer that he performed nearly all of his own physical stunts as the clumsy Captain Parmenter. Do you remember this commercial? My parent company was a pharmaceutical giant that also produced antibiotics and baby formula. My 1950s commercials were animated by the same artist who drew Mickey and Donald. I am the toothpaste brand whose beaver mascot famously sang Brusha, Brusha, Brusha. The Ipana beaver. Introduced by Bristol Myers, Bucky Beaver was a 1950s superstar. His commercials were brought to life by legendary Disney animators, and his Brusha 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 jingle became so iconic that it was famously sung by Jan in the 1978 hit film Grease. Even though the brand vanished from U.S. shelves in the 1970s, the song remains unforgettable. Do you remember this TV show? My creator was a legendary producer who later created the hit series The Rockford Files. My breakout star was a parking lot attendant with a top 5 hit on the Billboard charts. I am the detective show set at an iconic Los Angeles address where Cookie combed his hair. 77 Sunset Strip. Premiering in September 1958 and running for 6 seasons, it was the Private Eye series created by Roy Huggins. Ed Burns played the parking lot attendant whose hit, Cookie, Cookie, Lend Me Your Comb, reached number 4 in 1959. The show's office was famously located right next to Dino's Lodge, a real-life restaurant owned by Dean Martin. Do you remember this commercial? I was developed by a British pharmacist in 1928 between the two Great World Wars. My 1950s jingle became one of the most parodied and famous slogans in advertising history. I am the hair cream whose catchy jingle promised that a little dab'll do ya. Brill Cream. Developed in 1928 by a Birmingham pharmacist, the English hair cream crossed the Atlantic in the 1950s and became the gold standard for the slicked-back look. The jingle, A Little Dab'll Do Ya, was famously parodied by comedian Stan Freberg in 1958. Did you keep track of your score? Post it in the comments. Thanks for playing Do You Remember? See you in the next game.